Alright, welcome back to another video. As promised, I'm going to be doing some deep dives into particular states. This one will be on the state of Florida. We'll be looking at counties, voting trends, and some other stuff. In this video, we're just going to take a deep dive into Florida and its critical 29 electoral votes. Here's the map as we have it now. We have Democrats at 305, Republicans at 179, and 25 electoral votes that, flip a coin at this point, and that might tell you where they're going. Ohio, Iowa, Maine 2nd Congressional District, we really don't know the way they're going. If I had to guess, I would say that Iowa and Maine 2nd would go Republican and Ohio would go Democrat, but I could certainly be wrong. All right, so let's get right into the stuff. First, we are going to look at the last time a Democrat won in the state of Florida, and that is 2012. Barack Obama beat Mitt Romney by less than 100,000 votes. He did worse than he did in 2008. However, he still did pretty well. The kind of critical Democratic counties in the state are Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, Osceola, Orange, Alachua, Leon, and Gadsden, along with Hillsborough and Pinellas, but we'll talk about those two a little bit later. So, in this state, Barack Obama won. He won by 0.9. He had won by, it looks like, 2008, it was 51% to 48%, so a bit of a loss there. But Florida went blue in 2012. If we go to 2016, we can see that Donald Trump flipped the state. He did this in a few ways. First of all, he flipped Pinellas County. Obama won at 52-46. Trump won at 48-47. Hillary Clinton, actually in the critical Democratic counties, improved off Barack Obama's margins. However, he still fell short. Donald Trump also flipped Jefferson County. You can see here it went 50-48 to Obama. 4 years later, 51-46 to Trump. Another county is Duval County that went 51-47 to Romney, but narrowed up in the last election. Duval County is a county we'll talk about a little bit later as one of those critical counties. There's also two other counties that Donald Trump was able to flip. Monroe County went 49-49 for Obama, just by a few hundred votes to Obama. Trump won it 51-44, winning it by 3,000 votes. Also in St. Lucie County, which went 53-45 to the Democrats in 2012, but in 2016 went 49-47 to Donald Trump. So we can see how Trump won Florida. He flipped a few counties, and he did better than Mitt Romney did in some other counties. Can also see that kind of this southwestern part of the state didn't go as heavily to the Republicans. However, we can see that in 2016 it did. So now let's look at Florida in 2018. Florida in 2018, Republican Ron DeSantis beat Democrat Andrew Gillum in the governor race, and Rick Scott beat incumbent Bill Nelson in the Senate race. While both of these wins were big for Republicans and crucial to their kind of half victory on election night, They do tell us some interesting things about the 2020 race. First, I do kind of want to talk about the notion of Florida as a swing state right now, because I don't really believe that Florida is a swing state. Florida's pretty solidly Republican, and it's been that way since, the 2000 election. It's always been close in elections, but Republicans find ways to win here. Obama won it twice very narrowly, and Democrats only Bill Nelson was the one senator who's been a Democrat in recent Florida history. So really, if we look at, even though Republicans have won the state narrowly, they have won the state. And just because of that, and the nature of Florida's electorate, Florida isn't totally a swing state, even though it is on the presidential level. It's more of a red state that will swing blue. So I kind of just want to say that because there's kind of this notion of Florida's swing state, but really it's more of a red state that swings blue. It's very lightly red. It's not solid red like Arkansas, Alabama, those states. But nevertheless, at its core, Florida's more of a Republican state. So let's look at 2018. 2018 shows a lot of positives for Democrats. In the governor race, Democrats flipped critical Pinellas County. They flipped Seminole County. And they flipped Duval County. They also flipped St. Lucie County. This is incredibly critical when it comes to the 2020 election. Joe Biden cannot win the state without holding on to these 4 counties. Duval County hadn't gone blue in a while. It went blue. Pinellas County went blue again in both the governor's race and the Senate race. The only difference between the governor's race and the Senate race is that Bill Nelson won Monroe County by, looks like he won it by 16 votes. And Ron DeSantis won it by a bigger margin. The one upside we can see in this for Republicans is that they actually improved in Democratic counties. If we look at Miami-Dade County, Andrew Gillum got a little less than 60, and Bill Nelson got 60, except Hillary Clinton got 63%, and Obama got 61%. So, while Democrats did flip many counties, they also did poorer in counties that they need to perform very well in. If I had to give, if there's like 1 or 2 keys to Democrats winning this state, it's that they need to get over 60% in Miami-Dade, over 60% in Broward, which shouldn't be a problem. They need to get close to 60% or 60% in Palm Beach. They need to do well in Orange. They need to win Hillsborough, and they need to flip from 2016 Pinellas, St. Lucie, Duval, and Seminole. Seminole, we didn't really talk about. Seminole is northern Orlando suburbs in the Sanford area. So that's the keys for the Democrats to win. If Donald Trump wants to carry Florida, which is now his home state again, he needs to... he doesn't necessarily need to get over, 38, 40% in Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach. He just needs to win Duval, which he did in 2016, win Pinellas, which he did in 2016, win St. Lucie, which he did in 2016, and maybe win Monroe. That's all he needs to do. So if we look at Florida, and the governor and Senate race are basically identical, the exception of Monroe County in this race, we can see that Democrats did make inroads in the midterms, despite the fact that the Republicans won the 2018 governor's race and Senate race. Let's go on now to see 2016 by race, gender, and education. Hillary Clinton actually, typically there's the, idea that Democrats do better among educated voters. Trump won college-graduated voters in the state of Florida. Joe Biden has to win this back. He absolutely has to win this back. He probably won't win back no college degree voters, but he needs to win back college graduate voters. He needs to do better with whites than Hillary Clinton did. She got only 32%. He needs to get above probably 35%. Joe Biden also needs to do better with the 45 to 64 and 65 and over populations. It looks like he's going to do this because of COVID-19. A lot of elderly people in Florida have been affected by that, and it looks like he can do that. When it comes to demographics in Florida, we expect Joe Biden to do well among African-American voters. But when it comes to Hispanic and Latino voters, it actually looks like he's going to do worse. So if you know nothing about Latinos in Florida, Florida has a very diverse population of Latinos with its proximity to Central, South America, and the Caribbean. A lot of Latinos in the state of Florida are Cuban. Cubans typically vote Republican. Why? Socialism. Democrats. There are today in the Democratic Party there are some Democrats who say they're democratic socialists. Socialism is also a word that Republicans kind of use to categorize all Democrats, even though in reality not all Democrats are socialists. Some are, not all are. But this helps them get the Cuban vote. The Cuban vote has been pretty solidly Republican for the last few decades, and we don't expect it to change too much, except with the generation of Cubans who actually fled Cuba dying, and younger Cubans becoming the majority. It might change in the Democrats' favor. With other groups, Democrats typically do well among Puerto Rican voters. Of course, not all Puerto Rican voters. And, other Hispanic/Latino minorities. There are, Hispanic and Latino people who have, just like with Cuban voters, people who have fled socialism in countries like Nicaragua or Venezuela might vote Republican for that reason. If we now look at the senior demographic, this was an interesting article in the AP that I thought I'd use in this video. There's a lot of elderly Republicans flipping for Biden, especially elderly white Republicans. The Villages, Florida, is the largest retirement community in the nation. It's kind of just a lot of houses, golf courses, places for elderly people. And, while Trump will win most elderly voters in Florida, it looks like Joe Biden, because of the pandemic, has made inroads with this demographic. It looks like Joe Biden is going to go back to this 2016. It looks like Joe Biden isn't going to win the 65 and over or 45 to 64, but he's going to do a lot better. We can see, this is a scene we would not have seen in the Villages or in other elderly communities in Florida in 2016. Trump recently visited the Villages in Florida because he really needs that elderly vote to win the state. Yeah, we can see here's Vice President Pence in the Villages. Elderly voters are going to be a key. They have been a key to Republican success in Florida in the past, but if just a few percent of elderly voters flip, and it looks like they will because of the pandemic, Joe Biden has a decent chance at the state. I also want to go look at some Pew Research polls. And overall, in the state of Florida, the Hispanic/Latino demographic is growing, and that's a key demographic in the state and also in the nation. And it's unclear really how this demographic is going to vote. In 2016, about 2/3 voted for Democrats and 1/3 voted for Republicans. But, Donald Trump does appeal to more religious conservatives. Of course, not all Latinos are, very, very Catholic. Joe Biden's Catholic, but with the Republican Party being the party of anti-LGBTQ stuff and pro-life, this might sway some Latino voters to the Republican Party. If we look at this was an interesting 538 article that came out a few days ago that talked about how Trump is doing better with Hispanic voters. We can see between 2016 and 2018, he performed better in just about every demographic or every age, gender, education with Latino voters. This isn't a great sign for Democrats because the Latino demographic is a key demographic they need to win across the country, and especially in the state of Florida, to win in not only the 2020 election, but also in future elections. So if we go back to this map, with everything we've looked at, with elderly people, because of the pandemic, swinging more to the Joe Biden side, not necessarily to the Democratic side, but to the Joe Biden side, with several key counties flipping in the 2018 midterms: Pinellas, Seminole, Duval, St. Lucie, and kind of Monroe. It looks like Joe Biden can win the state of Florida. I think Florida is going to be a state that's going to take weeks to count all the votes. Florida actually typically, if you remember from election night in 2016, Florida counts pretty quickly. So this might be wrong. I think it'll take at least a day because of all the mail-in voting. I could be wrong. Florida might be called on election night. Again, to kind of review what Joe Biden needs to do, he needs to have steady support with the Latino demographic. He needs to not let this kind of scare him, and he needs to do well in Latino demographics. He needs to win not just only the urban counties, but also the suburban counties. He needs to flip Pinellas, Duval, Monroe, St. Lucie, and Seminole. He needs to win those counties to win the state of Florida. These are all things that I think he can do. These are all things that Donald Trump can also prevent. Florida, there's a reason people don't really guess the outcome of Florida just because it's so unpredictable. Older people watching this video might still remember the 2000 election when Florida went to George W. Bush by around 530 votes. If Donald Trump is to win the state, he needs to not let Joe Biden win in Pinellas, Duval, Seminole, Monroe, and St. Lucie. And he needs to improve on Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis's margins in Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and Orange County. These are all things he can also do. He also has research from 538 kind of in his favor, saying that Hispanic voters might be going more towards Trump. So while Florida really is at its core a Republican state, I think in this election it is one that the Democrats can turn blue. I think Florida, hopefully it'll be called on election night. I don't think it will. We'll have to see. I think Joe Biden can win. Again, I'll repeat, win the counties. Just win the counties. Do better with the elderly population. All things he appears to be doing and all things he certainly can do. All right. That is all for this deep dive into Florida. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a similar thing like this in the state of Ohio. In the coming days, I'll be releasing another Senate prediction and a governor prediction. With the House, just because there's so many House seats, I don't know if I can make a House video. I know I said I would, but we will have to see. Alright, that is all for this video. Stay tuned.